Hello everyone, welcome to Go Get My Go. Let's continue our series on Python interview questions. So first question for today's session is what is PEP8? PEP stands for Python Enhancement Proposal, whereas PEP8 is a document that specifies guidelines on how to write Python code for maximum readability. This document is like a rule book which tells us how to write our code. This document consists of indentations and how to define functions and all the formats which we need to follow while writing our code in Python. And the next question is, what are namespaces? So namespace is basically a system which ensures that object names in a program are unique and can be used without any conflict. So when we create an object, sometimes we refer that object with name. So these namespaces allow us to refer the same names for different objects without conflict. So in Python, namespaces are basically divided into four. The first one is local namespace, second goes enclosing namespace, third one is global namespace, and fourth one is built-in namespace. So let's discuss what is local namespace. Local means it is belonging to something. That something here is function. So this local namespace is created when a function is defined, and this namespace exists until the function returns a value. And next thing is enclosing namespace. Sometimes while writing programs, we need to define a function within another function. So that time, this type of enclosing namespace is created. So let's understand with an example. So let's consider I have a function name called ABC, and here I have to print some statement. So now in the same function, I am going to define one more function. Let's say here I am going to print something else, return from this function and call this function. Let me call the main function. So what happens here? The first function we have created is ABC. So this ABC function, for this function, interpreter creates a namespace in enclosing namespace, whereas function EFG gets space in local space because this function becomes local to ABC functions. So the function ABC is called enclosing function and EFG is called enclosed function. So EFG gets space in local space, ABC gets space in enclosing space. I hope now you're clear. So next comes our global namespace. So when this global namespace is created, interpreter creates this global namespace for names defined in the main function, as well as this is mainly associated with modules which we use in our program using import method. So global namespace are created for modules and the names which we defined in our main function. And the last thing comes is built-in namespace. So this built-in namespace is created for all the built-in functions and exceptions in Python. This namespace is created once the Python interpreter starts running and it lasts until the user exits. I hope you are clear with all these namespaces and when they are created. Let's move on to next question. Next question is, what is scope in Python? So this scope is associated with object. So let's see what is scope. Scope determines the parts of the program from where Python objects are accessible. So you cannot access objects from everywhere in the program. So there are some scopes which are defined for the objects in programming. So these scopes can be identified as local scope, global scope, and then built-in scope. So what is local scope? As we have seen in the last question, local scope is local to that function. Let's understand with an example. So let's take the same function. I'll define an object here and print this object. Now let's call this function and print this value of x again. What will happen? First, the value of x will be printed. When interpreter comes across line number 6, what happens is we will get an error. Why that error? Let's run this first. So here you can see 100 is printed and then name error. X is not defined. That is because x, the scope of this object x is only to the function ABC. Outside the function, this x doesn't have access. So we cannot access this x outside the function. Now let's make little modification here. X is equal to 200 So when I run this now, 200 is printed twice. That is because one print function I am making use inside the function and one print function outside the function. From this, you can tell that X is having global scope. That is, outside the function you are declaring your object and that you are making use inside the function. So X is within global space. You can make use of this global object anywhere in your program. And the last thing comes is built-in scope. So what is that built-in scope? Built-in scope is nothing but it contains all the built-in functions and exceptions in the Python. So Python follows LEGB rule to check this or to verify this object names. So what is this LEGB? L for local, E for enclosing namespace, G for global space, and B for built-in space. Suppose we have a name as X, Python interpreter searches first in the local space. If it doesn't find this X inside the local space names, it goes to enclosing namespace. So if it doesn't find there also in enclosing namespace, then it moves on to global space. If it did not find anywhere in these three namespaces, it searches for the name in built-in namespace. So this is how Python interpreter works. So let's move on to fourth question. What is Python path? Python path is an environment variable which we can set to add additional directories where what are escape sequences? So these escape sequences we use to insert special characters in strings. So escape sequence is denoted by backslash and then followed by a character. That character may be T for tab space, N for new line and double backslash for inserting backslash.
Subscribe to Go Get My Guru channel and don't forget to press the bell icon to receive regular updates.